Howdy, howdy, howdy. So let me just say three things right off the bat. One, I normally do music videos, music history, playing songs, guitar stuff, but this is a political video, so that's not for you. I apologize. Two, I am neither a Republican nor a Democrat. Like many Americans, neither party really captures what I'm about. I have beliefs in both sides, and I can recognize the stupidity of both sides. So I'm a registered independent and have been as long as I can remember. Thirdly, I really think that Elizabeth Warren would have been a great president. She was my choice for president, not just this year, but also in 2016. And I know you're like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. It does. Even then, I was like, that woman should be president. Now, having said that, I'm going to make the case right now of how she helped Trump win in 2016 and how she may be helping him right now. The first thing that we should do is look back at 2016. Now, the race between Bernie and Hillary was so close that when the DNC cheated on behalf of Hillary, it worked. If Bernie had had a clear and undeniable lead, the DNC could not have pulled what they pulled, and Hillary wouldn't have won the nomination. Now, I need to say this too. Hillary would have been a much better candidate, or a much better president than Donald Trump. That's truth, as far as I can assess it. But she was a bad candidate. She was a bad candidate because she had a lot of baggage, which Trump could use against her. See, Trump can't beat people based on policy or fact. He has to attack character and attack little niggling things that his supporters can latch on to because he doesn't have good policy. And amazingly, they ignore that hypocrisy, right? They're not like, they don't go like, well, yeah, you're kind of a bad person saying that other people are bad, so I'm not going to vote for you. That's not what his supporting base is like. Nor the independents who switched from Obama to Trump. You know, the thing with Hillary and Bernie being so close that the DNC could cheat and help Hillary win also hurt Hillary when she's running against Trump because they were so close that people felt like they were choosing the lesser of two evils, and they felt like they knew one of the evils. They felt like they knew how evil Hillary really was, even though that probably not an accurate assessment. And then they were just like, well, Trump might be evil, but we can take a risk on him because he's a new entity. So in that way, Elizabeth Warren handed the Democratic nomination to Hillary Clinton, a weak candidate who did not have views that aligned as closely with Senator Warren's as Bernie Sanders. And because Hillary was the one person that Trump could really go after in that way, he won. Fast forward, or rather catch up to today. Now, Hillary's not running. Trump is still going to make her an issue, but Senator Warren has dropped out of the race. She could have stayed in the race like Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard has no chance of winning, but she's staying in the race. Bernie would have benefited from having on the stage, on those debate stage, having Elizabeth Warren there to point out how Joe Biden is a weak candidate. And he's a weak candidate for many of the same reasons that Hillary was. He might be the nicest guy in the world, but he's a gaffe machine. And Trump is going to hammer him on those gaffes all the time, and chances are that in response to being hammered on those gaffes, Joe's going to say something very Biden, and he's going to gaffe again. And I sounds like I said Gaffigan, like Jim Gaffigan, but I'm not picking on Jim because it's not his fault. It's Liz's fault. I call her Liz now because we're that close, even though she doesn't know who I am. Look, when other candidates have dropped out, they've immediately endorsed Joe. And Warren could have done that. If she wasn't going to stay in the race and stay on the stage and help America understand that Joe Biden is a bad candidate and support the person whose views and policies most closely resemble her own, she should have dropped out and endorsed Bernie immediately. To my knowledge, she hasn't endorsed anyone right now, which makes me think she's going to do what she did last time, which is wait quite late in the endorsement process and then endorse the wrong candidate. And that wrong candidate is Joe Biden. Look, if if Elizabeth Warren had been the candidate running against Donald Trump, he could basically have attacked her on two things and only two things. He would say, "Oh, Pocahontas," and pick on her about her. She has a family story that many Americans have. That somewhere in our genealogy, somewhere in our blood is Native American DNA, and he could attack her on how she handled that and that she even said it in the first place, which I don't think is a fair thing to do. But he could attack her on that, and he would. He definitely would. And the other thing is maybe he'd attack her on sometimes she refers to her father as a maintenance man and sometimes as a janitor. But that's it. And on policy, she has that calm voice, but she can really drop the hammer on someone. On policy, he just wouldn't have a chance. Bernie is similar. There's one thing you can pin on Bernie that is not policy, that is not numbers, that can't be disproven easily, and that's the socialist tag, the socialism. So even though most Americans support the things that are socialist that Senator Sanders wants, that's pretty much the only axe that Donald's going to be able to wield against Bernie. And that makes Bernie a stronger candidate than Joe Biden. That thing alone, because how Trump is going to win against Biden, he cannot do against Bernie. Bernie owns the socialist tag, and he can keep pointing out, hey, if this thing that many Americans want is socialism, come at me, bro. He can do that. Senator Warren could have done it, but Vice President Biden cannot do that. He just can't. And so I think there's one person who can really sway this race. And that one person had the exact same chance 4 years ago, and she chose poorly. And I just want to point out to you, right now, her supporters are sort of dangling in the wind. She hasn't said, I endorse this person or that person. And some of them are going to go to Biden. Even though the things that made them want to vote for Senator Warren are things that are supported by Senator Sanders, but this electability thing is going to pull some of them away. Well, you want to make a guy electable, support him. That's what Senator Warren can do. She can make less of her people go toward Biden and more of them go toward Sanders, and then Sanders gets more momentum, and it's a big vicious machine. And then if Sanders is smart, he should pick her for vice president. I think he is smart. I really hope he doesn't do the Stacey Abrams thing, because that is not going to help. She's neat, but she's an unproven quantity, and then that's going to be an issue when you're talking about a guy who just had a heart attack and who he's going to put one heartbeat away from. So look, this is the deal. If you haven't voted and you really want Trump out of office, you have got to go in your state and help Bernie Sanders win this nomination, because Joe Biden is a bad candidate the same way that Hillary was a bad candidate. I'm not saying she would have been a bad president. I'm not sure that Biden would be a bad president, but he's a bad candidate in that he gives Trump a real chance to win because he plays perfectly into Trump's game. Sanders does not. Warren can sway that. Please, Senator Warren, take Joe down. We have to have a candidate that can really win, and we can't decide that by the polls. We have to be honest and watch how these races are going to be fought. So there you go. It's all Elizabeth Warren's fault. So sad that she's out. We can't have more Trump. That's my stand as an independent. That's my stand as a musician and as a dad and as a human and as an American. And I just don't think that look, it's 10 minutes of babble. That's what this is. Hey, listen, if you want music videos, I have some of those on the channel. Peace and song.